Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leyland brothers. Whatever it is that you want to see, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. No matter whatever that happens to be, ask the Leyland brothers. Come on, be in it and join in the fun. Travel all over Australia.
We've always been interested in four-wheel drives, so when we found out about the Currumbin Valley four-wheel drive park up here in the Currumbin Valley, we went there to try it out and take some film of the park and what you can do at this four-wheel drive area.
You probably haven't given much thought to rocking horses. Well, neither had we until we received a letter which suggested we go to Dubbo here and film a man who makes them. The style of rocking horses that he makes are the same as those that were made 50 years ago.
Then we go to Kew here in Victoria to have a look at the guide dogs for the Blind Association and how they train their dogs.
We have a letter from Mr. S. Graham of Marrickville in New South Wales. He wrote and said, with the popularity of four-wheel drive vehicles in Australia, it's getting difficult to find somewhere to try out your vehicle. I've read about a four-wheel drive farm in the Currumbin Valley on the Gold Coast and would like to see what it's all about on your program. Well, Mr. Graham, this is the place you're talking about, and it's owned and operated by David and Pauline Bowden. Let's go and see what it's all about. Access to the Bowden's 80-hectare property is across this pretty section of Currumbin Creek. An old-style farmhouse is the headquarters of the property. All visitors must call in here for permission to use the park. High rocky cliffs tower over the farmhouse, a great scene setter for the day ahead. Pauline and David Bowden started the four-wheel drive park. Now, what gave the idea of starting a four-wheel drive park?
Mike, we felt there was a need for an area around the Gold Coast where people could actually use their four-wheel drive. So many come up from Victoria and New South Wales, and our beaches, they can't have people on because of the erosion problem and one thing and another.
It's a semi-rainforest area. It's very, very attractive, and most people bring their families with them and have a really good day as well as trying out their vehicles and all the tracks.
And this is to indemnify you against anything I might do to myself.
That's right.
Don't worry, Mike, everyone does it. It's nothing personal.
Okay, now do I get a map?
Yes, this is it here, Mike.
Well, why don't we all go? I'll follow you and you can show me around. That'd be the best way, wouldn't it?
Yes.
It's quite okay.
Okay.
First obstacle on the course around here is this big bog hole. So we'll see how she goes. The property was once a banana plantation, but now all the bananas are long gone. David hit on the idea of using his getaway from at home as a four-wheel drive recreational park when he discovered old access tracks that had overgrown after the banana plantation closed down. It had taken David and Pauline about 12 months' hard work to clear all the old tracks and put in a few new ones of their own to link up existing tracks. The property is mostly covered in thick bush with patches of rainforest. The main track winds its way up steep hills through cool rainforests and along ridge-top trails with magnificent views. A couple of steep hill climbs run off the main trail to lookout points on the hilltop. A magnificent view of the Currumbin Valley unfolds before you when you reach the top. Many of David's neighbouring properties still have banana plantations, which can be seen here. The Currumbin Valley four-wheel drive park is situated in an ideal position, only 20 kilometres from the Gold Coast, and a more picturesque spot is hard to imagine. One track that David put in is this one that runs down a steep hill to the upper reaches of Currumbin Creek. Once you get sick of travelling around the trails and crashing your vehicle through the bog holes and things, you can stop at a beautiful spot like this and have a barbecue. Or if you like, you can even have a swim. Visitors often spend hours just poking around the bush, enjoying the tranquil creek. Take time out to go for a bushwalk. You will be rewarded with colourful wildflowers.
Mike, a big part of the park here is the rallies that we have. I guess we have about 4 a year, and they come from everywhere. We have entrants from North Queensland, some from over the border. We run it on the 3 tracks, and last one was on a very wet day, so you can imagine them slipping and sliding, trying to get up the hills and ending up bogged in the valleys. That's about how it goes.
David, along with his friends and us in our Jeep, decided to have a bit of an impromptu rally around the course. Nothing like the real competitive events that have been held here, though. You have to be a bit of a four-wheel drive freak to enjoy this sort of thing. So maybe I'm a bit of a four-wheel drive freak. I had a real ball. The Jeep seemed to enjoy it too. It costs $5 per vehicle per day to enjoy the Currumbin Valley four-wheel drive park, and there seems to be plenty of people willing to pay for the privilege.
When you finish travelling around the trails of the Currumbin Valley four-wheel drive park, you might end up a lot dirtier than when you started, but at least you've had a lot of fun.
Children's rocking horses have been popular as toys for centuries, but these days with modern mass production techniques you don't see too many like this, which are handmade. Some people of course still make them as a hobby. One such man is Sess Hockley from Dubbo, and we received a letter from his wife Amy Hockley, who suggested his hobby of making wooden rocking horses like this one here might make an interesting story for us Leyland brothers. So let's meet Sess and just see how he goes about making an old-fashioned rocking horse. Sess is retired now, but finds his days are as busy as ever, since his expertise at producing rocking horses to the same perfection as the old-timers has spread. He aims to produce the lightest possible horse with the greatest possible strength, and uses only wood, glue and screws to hold them together. The first one was made several years ago without the use of an old original to copy, as Sess explains.
I made it up by memory on my head, and I didn't have one old one. But I remembered of old ones, and that's what started me off, just by memory, and worked from there. It didn't take long to find out my mistakes and improve on them.
Sess has made one rocking horse for each of his 16 grandchildren and makes as many as he can for friends and for charity.
Tap him down into place there so he beats right down and put the clamp on.
He says that each horse takes over a week's labour, and that's by working 6 days a week for long hours. He's never made anything from timber much in his life before and has had to learn new skills all over again.
The timber's pretty hard to come by in the sizes. The sizes, standard sizes, don't do. You have to have it cut to the special sizes, special thickness, and therefore you can't go to the mill and just pick it up. And a lot of the mills here don't cater for it. You have to use Morandi wood. It's the best wood to stand the age, best to work, and it'll stand the sun and all when it's put together and won't warp or twist or split or crack. Go through them anyway.
Although Sess uses power tools wherever possible, he still carries out most of the shaping by hand. Every horse starts out with roughly the same design, but no two horses finish up with quite the same look. Sess keeps discovering ways to improve them. When the horses are sanded into their final shapes, Sess carefully decorates them with paint and saddles. One important component is the horse's mane and tail, which is made of cow's tails from the local abattoirs.
They're all washed out and combed out. They're full of burrs and quite dirty when you get them. So you pick out the ones that will suit the manes and the ones that will suit the tails, and in various colours that you want to make for the colours of the horse. When you put that on the horse's neck, you'll see how it hangs down. You feel how soft it is.
That's the mane, isn't it?
That's the mane, and you comb it out, seeing it's already into shape. How it'll hang down the horse's neck. This one here, we have a bit of black in this one, and that'll suit a black and white one or a black and grey one, to give you just a little bit of colour, and probably use the tail with just a little bit of colour in it the same. Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
4 years, so it's just on and off.
Just a hobby?
Just a hobby, yeah. This year I've done a few.
How come you started to make them at all?
I started making them for the grandchildren. Started me off.
What did you used to do for a living?
I used to be a jack of all trades. I worked with the water conservation on the dam. I did truck driving. I'm a hex garbage man.
This is one of the older horses you're doing up?
Yes, it's quite a old horse. This, it's to my knowledge, it'd be 40-year-old. Quite
preserved?
Yeah, quite antique.
Make all of these bridles and that yourself?
Yeah, I make up all the bridles. I make up all the ironwork.
It's Sess's attention to detail like the stirrups and manes which give the completed horses their appeal. And it's amazing how successful these rocking horses are with children. The rain gives Carmen a chance to test ride a brand new rocking horse. She's an all too willing jockey. Sess Hockley's rocking horses have found their way all over Australia, even in the few years since he started making them. And every now and then someone brings in a real old timer made 50 or 60 years ago, and Sess restores it. His manufacturing techniques are almost identical to the old ones. Perhaps his rocking horses will be giving delight to children even 50 years from now.
A letter from Janice Cooper of Floreat Park in Western Australia brings us to Kew in Victoria. Janice wrote and said, "I'm very interested in animals, especially guide dogs who are trained in leading the blind people. I would like to see something of how these dogs are trained and what kind of adjustment people have to make when owning a dog in everyday routine." Well, Janice, we're now going to take a look at both aspects of your letter. On our arrival at the Royal Guide Dogs for the Blind National Training Centre in Kew, we're shown the dog breeding section. Selective breeding at the centre helps to produce more suitable dogs for training. Over 100 Labrador puppies are born here each year. The centre spokesman, Eric Hatchley, explains to me about the puppy training scheme.
7 weeks old, they then go out to the puppy walkers. These are the families that look after the dog during the first 12 months, or in other words, their growing up period. And in this period of time, the dogs are introduced to a normal family life, going into shops, traveling in the family car, so that when they come back to the training centre at 12 months old, they are fully conditioned to suburban life.
The next step in the dog's training is taken over by a special training officer, in this case Glenn Adams. The dog is to be subjected to city traffic and the chaotic city noises.
Stay. Okay, up you get. Side.
This is the harness that we use with guide dog work. It's essentially made up of 2 pieces. One is a body piece, which has a breastplate, which is nice and comfortable, and a girth underneath, which buckles behind the front legs. The other piece is the handle, which is the all-important link between the dog and the person working a dog. It provides him with information as regards to what the dog is doing. That's a good boy. Stay. Good boy.
These real-life situations are the most important part of the dog's training program.
Back you come. Round you go. Good. Very nice.
They must learn to ignore outside distractions and concentrate on leading their master safely past any obstacles. Hour after patient hour is spent in crossing roads and learning traffic skills. The instructor must be patient but firm. The 4 months of intensive training is carried out under all weather conditions and in a variety of situations. The guide dog movement was introduced to Australia from England in 1950 by Arnold Cook, an Australian who lost his sight at 18, but went to England for postgraduate work. He trained with a guide dog there and eventually brought the dog back with him to Australia, thus becoming the first guide dog owner in Australia. The movement in Australia developed around Arnold Cook. The first training centre was established in Perth in 1951. Now there are guide dog associations in all states of Australia.
Training period and have reached the required standard to be a guide dog, then we must try and select what we feel to be the most suitable dog for each particular person.
The blind client spends approximately 4 weeks at the centre getting to know their dog and learning how to use the guide dog safely.
What about in the mornings? Does she come up and
she comes up
wake
to
you
bed.
up in the morning?
Yes, she gives me a nudge underneath the arm.
Groom for yourself yet?
Well, yes, I've got the brushes, and we had a good grooming this morning, didn't we?
How did she like that?
Oh, she loved it.
At this point, even within a few days, I think the people quickly realised that not only will they get benefit from their dogs as a guide, but also the actual companionship of their particular dog.
All right, Dulcie.
Practical experience with the dog in the street is very important. The instructor now trains a blind person in handling their new guide dog. Mrs. Dulcie David from Geelong is keen to learn.
Stop and stay. Good girl.
I'd like you to put the harness on the way I've explained to you. Lay it on the dog's back. Slide it forward over her head.
Right.
That's very good, yeah. Buckle the girth up underneath, behind the front legs.
Does she want it very tight for this?
Not terribly tight, just slack enough that you can get your hands underneath the top of the back strap. Too tight's uncomfortable, and too loose is...
Oh, is that about right?
That looks very good to me. Yeah, that's about
Too
nice.
tight?
No, I think that'll be all right.
There, right.
Okay, now all we're going to do is a simple walk down along the roadway I'm going to
The
take...
way we're facing?
The way we're facing, yes. I'm going to take the leash, and I'll be over on your left side, take the handle, and we'll just quietly walk down the street, okay? I'll come around behind you. Okay, I'll take the leash in. I'll put it on a long leash, and you can take the handle. Okay, now you know what it commands.
Yes, we're going.
And then voice, and we're going to go straight ahead.
To the shops, is it, or something?
No, just a straight walk
Straight
down.
walk.
Yeah.
Right. Inga forward.
Straight on, girl.
Straight ahead.
That's the way. Off we go now. That's the way.
Straight ahead. Come on. Straight on, love. It's a girl. Straight ahead. Is that all right, Glenn, the way
Very
we're
good, Dulcie.
going?
Just keep it going beautifully.
Inga, straight on, love.
Just keep it going beautiful.
Is that all right, Glenn?
Very
Over
well
the-
done.
Dogs have to be carefully matched to suit their client's needs. For instance, a person working a switchboard would need a dog of a different temperament than a farmer. Labradors have nice short coats and blind people can groom them easily. Guide dogs are very popular with the public, which has helped them become accepted and allowed into all public places, such as restaurants, shops, motels, and all forms of public transport, including aircraft. So it is essential that they are clean and well behaved at all times. A guide dog can be expected to give faithful service as a worker and a pet for about 8 to 10 years.
It doesn't cost the blind person anything whatsoever. This includes the dog, staying here at the training centre for 4 weeks, their tuition.
It costs in excess of $4,000 to train a guide dog and the person using it. Funds for the Guide Dogs Association of Australia's work comes almost entirely from community support. The difference a guide dog makes to a blind person's independence is beyond calculation in monetary terms.
Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leylands, travel all over the countryside, ask the Leyland brothers. Whatever it is that you want to see, ask the Leylands, no matter whatever that happens to be, ask the Leyland brothers. Come on, me in it and join in the fun, travel all over Australia.